Awesome.
What's funny is I just pulled up. I pulled up the video from Channel 11 News
Oh, when I
back
was a
when you were
senior
a
in high
singer.
school.
Lewis Palmer, legend,
Oh, jeez.
and that's
Yeah,
it.
I think that was Rubio's first time in Colorado too, and he landed in Denver, and my dad picked him up, and you know Denver's airport, there's nothing out there,
No,
and so the first thing he said to my dad was, "John Denver's really full of shit, man." And I was like, "Yeah, exactly." So
I love
he
it.
got down the monument. There's some more mountains and everything,
Uh,
so it was a little more like Colorado, but
and
yeah.
Monument is towards Colorado Springs, correct?
Yeah, like 10 minutes north of the Air Force Academy.
Okay.
So we grew up going to the Air Force Academy games and everything.
Oh,
But
that's cool. Was that a
yeah,
place you like thought about going, or when you like? Because I think of like when I was back home, like SC was the place. Like if you went to SCU, like that was everyone knew that like what SC was. Not
yeah,
saying that. Uh, just in terms of location, as far as a college, I feel like everyone has that wherever they grew up. There was a college nearby that was like on their radar very early on.
yeah. I mean, all my friends were like CU fans or CSU fans, and actually, my dad's from like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So yeah, we like grew up watching Penn State. So I watched a lot of Joe Paterno and everything like that.
Right.
I never really thought I was gonna play college football, and so because like Lewis Palmer High School where I went, I think the biggest crowd I played in front of was like 800 people. And so, like to go from that environment to going and play, Big 12 football is completely, I mean, it was really just like, you know, out of the world to think I was going to play college football. So yeah, I mean, I really didn't have a dream school, but like, K State was similar to Monument, in terms of size and people and everything. So that's why I
Are you
ended
saying
up
there's
going
just
there.
nothing there?
it it's grown a lot, but when I was there, it was definitely a smaller town for sure. So
That's funny.
yeah,
Well, that's
yeah.
cool. Now, were you always a big kid in high school? Like, did you have a big growth spurt in high school?
Um, I was always tall. I was lanky, really lanky in high school. I was really fat as a kid, like really fat, like so fat that I used to go to the pool all the time with like my brother and my best friend, and I wasn't strong enough to push myself out of the pool, so I had to like
Oh
roll.
no,
So I had to like throw my leg up
no!
and like roll out of the pool. They called me the beached whale, and so like I was really fat and awkward until like sixth grade, and I kind of started hitting a growth spurt and thinned out a little bit. I still have like long arms and lanky and everything like that, but I filled out more towards the end of
Oh,
high school.
yeah,
Yeah,
you definitely did. I
yeah,
was just thinking about that that news piece, and you're a big guy, and I was just curious because everyone kind of hits their. It seems that like I remember hitting my growth spurt. I remember getting tall really fast
yeah,
in like freshman year, just lanky, like you said, just lanky, and
yeah.
then around my junior year is when I started to fill in a little bit more than my senior year, obviously.
Yeah.
Works out. What from when you started college, when you went off to college, what was your weight when you started your freshman year compared to what you ended at?
Shoot, I think my very first college game we played down at Auburn, and so I think I was blocking Quentin Groves at like 215 pounds, like 215 pounds. And I remember watching like the game film. I almost blocked a punt with my back. Like I got driven like 15 yards in the backfield. And then, so I got like 215 when the season started. And then as the season went on, I think I got down to like 205, losing weight through the season or whatever. And then I ended my college career at like 250 ish, I think.
Right.
And so, I mean, it kind of like made 10, 15 pounds a year I kind of put on. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Just, serious, actually like weightlifting and eating a ton kind of all paid off. So,
Getting on a nutrition schedule and a weightlifting
yeah,
schedule and just getting older.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
amazing. It's amazing when
Yeah,
you talk to certain kids and they're like when they're sophomores and like I need to put on weight. It's like trust me,
it'll
it
happen.
will happen.
Yeah.
And
No,
then
no matter how much I ate in high school, like I couldn't put on weight. It
same
didn't matter.
here.
Like I could eat like a dozen eggs for breakfast, and it wouldn't like I wouldn't move at all on the scale. So
Isn't that amazing?
yeah, I
It's
wish
all
it was
works
that
out.
way now. But I mean,
Right?
I just got on the scale after Christmas, and I was like, oh, dad bod kicking in pretty hard. So
Cool, you're a dad now. You can do that now.
yeah, I mean it's
It's a
acceptable.
dad
So
move now. It's
yeah,
a dad power move.
yeah.
That's great. So I mean, so you were like the third. I want to say you're like the third class Rubio ever had. Like,
I was honestly thinking like, okay, I want to talk to Tanner tonight. Like, thinking back when I first went to Rubio. It was my first Rubio was January Vegas when I was a junior in high school. I think there were 60 kids there, and I was like, oh my god, there's so many kids here. And then I was just thinking, okay, how things were so different than like when your brother and I were going through it when it first started. Like
Right.
top 12 or like the event elite wasn't like a separate camp. It was the guys that came back Sunday night and snapped in front of all the college coaches.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. And just so everyone can know, back in the day, back in the olden days,
yeah.
when it was a wild west with specialist recruiting, the Vegas camp, the Sunday finals wasn't really a finals where you had a competition. It was
No,
literally what do they have those like a
it
cattle
was
stock
all.
show?
It was literally like Rubio would say, "Tanner, come out here and snap," and you'd have like USC, Notre Dame, Alabama, like
Right.
sitting there
Any college
timing you.
scout can come
Yeah,
down, walk in the
yeah,
field, walk up to you and talk. And for what I remember, it was kind of crazy because kids would be going to the parking lot trying to get in their cars or catch a cab to go back to the airport, and there would be college coaches offering scholarships on the spot.
yeah. It was. I remember that was the first time I saw David Bueller. Do you remember Bueller, the
Oh
kicker?
yeah, dude.
And I remember him hitting kickoffs, and it sounded like a gunshot coming off his foot, and he was putting it like 20 yards deep.
Right.
And I think got offered by USC like that night, like right
Oh
there on the
yeah.
spot.
They're like,
Yeah,
we'll play you at safety,
yeah. And
linebacker,
it was funny because
fullback.
I went on an official visit to Oregon State, and he was playing like on the kickoff return, like in the setting up the wedge or something like
Yeah,
that. So he
he
had
had
like a
neck
neck
roll for a
roll on.
while. I remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It
Bueller,
was.
yeah.
It was cool, and like the Vegas events now are awesome with like the steel target and everything like that. But that was probably the best experience
Oh,
overall in
no
terms of
doubt.
like pressure and everything like that. That I wish it could be that way still, but
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That was crazy. Totally forgot about that. Thank you for bringing that up.
yeah, it was
That is
fun.
amazing. So,
Yeah.
like, I try to explain to people, especially people who have no idea. In fact, I talk about it every day because people are catching wind of the series and whatnot. They just have
Hmm.
no clue about the world of long snapping or special teams or specialist recruiting. And I sit
Yeah.
there and break them down piece by piece. But it's easy to explain it now, but it's hard to bring them back to 2004, 2005, 2006, 7 when you
Yeah.
started. My brother
Yeah.
started, and all the first guys came through because it was so small.
Hmm.
And is there like if I mean you did a great job explaining it right there, but I mean even the top 12 camp was still very green in itself.
Oh, Rubio and Sailor were still very green. I remember how I found
True.
out how I found out about them is I came into my high school like football locker one day and I had a flyer from Rubio Long Snapping. I was like, what the heck is this? And so I took it home and brought it to my dad, and he's like, oh, this looks cool. Let's go do a camp and everything. And we did the Vegas camp, and just thinking about now, like Rubio wants to get in touch with a kid, he can tweet at him or whatever it is,
Yeah.
shoot him a message on Facebook.
Yeah.
So easy, so much easier now to where back in the day, him and Sailor were stuffing envelopes with little pamphlets, brochures, and everything like that. And just thinking over the last 11, 12 years, how that's changed. How they got their name out and all their advertising out. It's
Right.
just it's unbelievable how 10 years is a long time, but still, it happened so quick. So
Yeah, it just blew up. Absolutely blew
yeah,
up. I mean,
yeah,
and now they're kind of the name. If you think about it, especially
hmm,
Rubio is snapping, is you cannot separate the two. But it's
no.
funny you mentioned the flyers. I remember him making those flyers in his classroom when
Yeah,
he was still
and it
teaching.
was it was the heavier Rubio too. Like I don't know how many people I've seen younger Rubio like 10 years ago. He was a little bit heavier, and so
Oh,
he's lost a
you're
lot of
putting it
weight. But
politely. You're being
yeah,
really generous right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, he
It's
was a
funny.
big man.
Yeah,
Big
he
man.
was very
Big
large.
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's just really cool. It's cool to see where things going, and the fact
Hmm.
that like now you're an instructor, and I
Yeah.
was going to ask, how do you now working with kids? Um, do you see a difference in the level of snapping now, or is it more of just you're seeing overall there's just more talented kids being discovered and coming through now?
I think like you had your good guys like in every single class, but now there's more of them in every single class. Like guys in this class coming out now, like 1 through 20, probably could have been one of the top three guys in any of our classes. I mean, they're all so good and all so close in how competitive and skilled they are. I mean, they're all, a lot of them are better athletes than we were. They snap better balls, are more consistent. And so I mean, you can see guys kind of taking it more seriously. Guys who probably play high school football and are good athletes, but know they can't play Division 1 as a linebacker, D end, or something like that. Find an avenue to be able to play on a major stage for 4 or 5 years and take advantage of it. And so I think that's kind of leading to it a little bit, and then also how committed kids are to attending all the camps and working between camps and everything like that, because you see on Rubio social media every single weekend, whether it's Abraham down in Georgia or Finch in Texas, Wiggly out in California. I mean, there's kids every single weekend working to get better, and I think that's kind of motivates kids to say, well, heck, I know the kid who's ranked slightly behind me is working right now. I better go out and do the same thing, or else they're gonna get jump frog in the rankings. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what people don't understand is how much it's a monotonous task a little bit, but it's something you have to work at every single day.
And you know how it is when you get to the level of missing right hip or left hip and getting pissed off when you're on the left hip when you want to be on the right hip. I mean, it's just that small of margin of error will drive you absolutely crazy.
Gets really obsessive and whatnot. No doubt. It's a bizarre thing.
It is.
It is, and it's hard to describe to people. Yeah. And it's funny when you're at I can't tell you how many times I've been at bars and we're watching Monday Night Football or something, and someone brings up long snapping or the center.
Yeah.
And they just kind of go, "Oh, it has to be the easiest job around." And I just have to bite my tongue, or else someone.
I can't tell you how many parties I was at freshman year of college where the guy's like, "Oh, I long snapped in high school. I'm better than you are." I'm like, "All right, man."
Well, I got to talk. You bring up a good point because I wanted to talk about this. My brother said something very interesting to me when I was going off to college, and I was pretty excited. I was about the team I was walking into. Just didn't know the dynamics of a college football team and how they operate or how people, react to a scholarship long snapper coming in.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you experienced this, but I remember him telling me, he goes, "Listen, dude, not everyone's going to like you at first. There's going to be a bit of animosity towards you because you are a long snapper on scholarship. It's kind of, there's going to be a lot of walk-ons that are, walk-on linebackers or linemen that look at you and go, they're going to be a bit jealous because they feel like you have an easier job." Did you experience that at all when you first rolled in, or was it pretty...
I mean, I had a good group of freshman guys that we all came in together, but there was definitely redshirt freshmen or sophomores that were ahead of me who were just bashing on me because I was a specialist and I was on scholarship, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things that I took from Rubio and and Casey and Tyler and all those guys when I was going through camps was pretty much be seen and not heard. Just show up and just do your job and just only speak when spoken to. As rough as that sound for a parent probably listening to this, oh, that's terrible. It's the only way to kind of really make a name for yourself without even having to say a word, because if they show that if they see that you're dedicated to show up every day, whether it's the weight room or not missing any classes or anything like that, they're going to respect you a lot more by doing that rather than you saying, "Oh, I won 5 Rubio regional camps." They don't care about that.
No.
They'd much rather care you seeing you put in the work and just being a good human being more than anything else. So
right. And they probably saw how hard you snapped the ball and caught one of your snaps. Okay, we get it now.
Yeah, no, I remember it was one summer workout and we were snapping. I was snapping to some punter or something like that, and Jordy Nelson, who pitched for the Packers now, was out there fielding punts, and he was sitting next to me, and he told me, he's like, put the ball on the right hip. And I was like, oh man, I'm a little nervous, just joking, just trying to, break the tension or whatever. He goes, "You better not be nervous. We're playing Auburn and 90,000 people in 2 weeks." And so I was like, "Yeah, you got good points."
Good point, Jordy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, it's, I just, I think that's a big thing that kids need to, take away from, going into the next level, playing from high school to college. I mean, it's cool to be, the big guy in campus, or you're a big guy at the camps or anything like that when you're at the Rubio camps and everyone knows who you are. But you get to K-State or KU or USC, wherever it may be, you're just another guy on the roster and you're a specialist as well. So
right.
You better just do your job and do it well.
Right. And I think you're a great example of that. I think it's awesome to hear that you say that because when you look at your resume, it totally reeks of that. It probably could use a better word there, but that's the best way to describe it. It's
Yeah.
like you look at you've had over 450 career snaps, without messing up at all.
Yeah.
And you went through a lot of stuff. From what I remember, you went through one coaching change at least, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So Coach Prince got fired after my sophomore year, then Coach Snyder came back.
Right.
And so we went from a pro style punt with Coach Prince. My special teams coach my sophomore year is actually Coach Rogers with the Bears right now. So
Oh,
like
okay.
he came from like an NFL experience with the Panthers, came to K State for a year, and then he went back to the NFL. So he knew all the schemes and everything like that. So it was great to play for him. But Coach Snyder came in and they kind of just said, okay, we're gonna go with the shield or the spread out punt, whatever it is. And I remember, Rubio has a blog about it. Don't pick a college because of a coach, whatever it was. But I was all excited about Coach Snyder coming back. But I wanted to snap and block. I wanted to do like a pro style punt. And then we're doing this new punt scheme, and I remember like texting Rubio and saying, "Hey man, like we're changing punt schemes. I'm like I don't know how this is gonna impact me long term, whatever it is." And he literally said, "I told you to pick a college because of the university, not because of coach." I'm like, "Well, I'm not upset about the coach. I'm upset about the scheme." He said, "Well, you can snap and block. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
And so like I wasn't worried about. I didn't want to leave Manhattan. I loved Manhattan, and
Yeah.
it's just so evident. Like even something that small, changing schemes is like kind of rattled me a little bit. So I can see a kid who like commits because they want to play for Turner Gill or whatever it may be, and then his staff gets fired, whatever it is, and then you get to go to the new coach.
Hey, you don't have
And
to be
so
bringing
it's
up all
tough.
these past demons, dude.
Was he who recruited you, or did you
He
get
was.
recruited by? Was he?
He was.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he was. And I was going to say, and I love you talking about the pro style system because that's all I did all my life. And it's
Yeah.
archaic now as far as
Yeah,
college
it
football
is.
goes.
It
And
is.
I loved it because I
I did
knew
too.
I loved it because one, I knew that and you could probably say the same thing to this, that if you just snap the ball correctly, you win for all other 10 guys. I don't think people
Mm-hmm.
realize that. And your snaps are so fast that if you just get in front of the dude, like you really, at that point, just get in front of the guy.
Mm-hmm.
The success rate of it, or of them blocking it, just dwindles down so low at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed that. It's
Yeah.
funny. Before I stopped playing, I went through spring ball with Weiss, and they switched to the spread punt, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, Weiss wasn't the nicest guy in the world, and that's probably the nicest thing I've ever said about him.
Yeah.
But he would, and it was one of those things where naturally, all my even through high school, I was always snapping, blocking, going backwards first,
Yeah.
and snap and sit, and I would naturally go backwards to block every snap. I just could not break it, and they would
Mm-hmm.
just hound me for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just bizarre. But so you didn't see any effects? Was it tough going 2 years with the spread, having to snap and run, and then going back to train for the NFL? Was it a bit of a transition period for you, or did it kind of come back a little naturally?
Yeah, I kept practicing it like throughout the year, throughout the season, as we were snapping on the side or on the indoor, whatever it is during practice. I'd keep snapping and blocking and everything like that. Sometimes I'd have to do it in the game if like they overloaded like A gaps, like three and like triple the A gaps, whatever it was. Try to Texas Tech did that all the time, but to try to block the punt. So I would help out there. So I kept doing it, and so it wasn't that much of a transition to go back to it. It was. I would say the footwork wasn't a transition, but actually having live bullets coming back at you was a little bit more of a, like, oh crap, these guys are actually coming. I'm not just doing it on air this time. So
And it was
yeah,
and at that point, it was in the NFL with
yeah,
professionals at this point.
and it was the Cowboys. I think it's illegal now, but when I was there, their punt scheme was interesting. Like I was snapping the ball in the guard position almost and snapping it at an angle.
Yeah, actually, I remember that.
Yeah,
I do
and
remember
so I remember
seeing
when
that.
I got the playbook, first day of training camp, and I'm like all confused. I'm like flipping the pages around, like what am I doing here? And then so I finally saw it on tape. I was like, okay, so like I was actually like my feet were not straight back. I was like angled to the side. So
Yeah.
I was snapping the ball diagonally, like leading the punter to his spot where he was catching the ball, and then I was just like blocking whatever side I was on.
Yeah.
And so the guy to my right was actually, if I was on the left side, the guy to my right was actually the center. So he was kind of like the point man of the formation. So he was
Yeah.
kind of going left or right depending on the PP's call. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was that was an adjustment for sure.
It's also kind of fun too when you're in the pro style system. You had a playbook.
Yeah, yeah,
Like it was
seriously.
kind of cool. Like wow, I think I had 12 calls.
Hmm.
Like 13. I think we had like one special kind of thing, like a rugby
Yeah,
style punt. But you had all these different blocking schemes. That was kind of
yeah.
people
Yeah, I mean,
people are missing out on that.
I enjoyed it more because you had like the loopers and everything like that. You had the
Yeah.
overloads that you kind of had to like snap and react to where you're
Yeah.
just snapping around down the field, just trying to get ear hold or whatever it is.
It
So
was kind of nice too. And I don't know if you agree with this, but for me it was nice because I didn't have to think about the snap. It took me
oh
off.
no,
It made me not think about the snap at all. So it was just let your form take over at that point
yeah.
and
I
just
mean,
play ball.
you hear Rubio every single camp telling kids to go on the go call. So
Right.
you're not thinking, you're just reacting. And
Right.
that's how it was. Just like snap. Okay, like always snap first, block second. But I was snapping, and it's just like okay, then what's next?
Yeah.
So it was just like muscle memory taking over at that point. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Good old punt. Good old pro style punt. Yeah, it was a
yeah.
staggering number, and I know it has to be below 5 now. But like I said in the last conversation I had with Rubio, I remember when I started as a freshman, we were one of 5 teams that only ran the pro style punt in all of D1 football,
Jeez.
which is kind of it's just so fascinating that it hasn't caught up to the NFL yet. But then again, the NFL has the rules.
Yeah.
That's right because they have the rules. You only release 2 at a time before punt.
Yeah, you can't release besides the gunners like past the line of scrimmage until the ball's kicked pretty much, so they have to do the whole kick slide and everything. But yeah.
So first, I want to talk about your recruiting process
All
because
right.
how was that for you? Because I'm everyone. It seems like every specialist has a story during their recruiting process. How was yours?
I mean, I really didn't know what to expect. Like, cause I think I was the first kid in my high school to ever get like a Division I football scholarship. So that tells you how bad we were.
Well, legend,
But
baby. No, you're a
yeah.
legend.
And so like I asked my high school coach like what to expect, and he couldn't really help me out that much. And so I was really
watch
yeah.
Rudy.
Yeah, pretty much. He was the first guy that got me into lawn snapping. He gave me like a VHS of like the 1985 Pittsburgh Steelers lawn snapper.
Wow.
Like how to lawn snap a football. And that's kind
What
of
was
where I
that
started.
like?
I mean it was everything like the most basic fundamental stuff, but I mean it was just kind of like after that try and go out and learn how to do it. And no hands-on instruction at all until I went to Rubio's first camp. So
Right.
yeah, but I mean so like my recruiting really didn't start until I went to Rubio my junior year, and then so I went to the January camp, and he ranked me number one for my class, which I thought was bizarre, and I don't know why, but yeah, I was like, okay, cool, number one.
Yeah, I wonder why, Corey. I
Yeah,
really wonder why.
yeah, and then after that, like I started getting letters from like colleges like that were interested, and then I went to May Vegas, and then that's when like all the summer camps came in. Like Kansas State said I wanted to come to our summer camp and all these different things, and I actually only attended I think K State summer camp. Like I couldn't get out to Arizona State, so I couldn't get to Oregon State or anything like that with summer basketball going on and weights and everything like that. So I only went to like one summer camp, and then after that it was unofficial visits, and with nobody like recruiting me near Colorado. Like K State was the closest one that's 7 hours away. Like I only went on one unofficial visit to K State. That was like a weekend trip where we drove out, and then I took official visits to Oregon State, Kansas State, and then I was lined up to go to Arizona State.
Mhm.
But I committed to Kansas State like the weekend before, and I didn't want to like just use Arizona State for a free trip or anything like that. So
Right.
I called
Oh,
them
you're
up.
decent.
Well, it was like I think there was like 3 feet of snow on the ground in Colorado, and it was like 87 degrees in Arizona. But
Yeah.
I felt bad, so yeah. So I called them up and canceled that trip. But I mean the recruiting was it was so different then because we didn't have like Twitter, and like, I think text messages
Right.
weren't big or anything like that. So it was like one phone call a week. You get phone calls like 9 o'clock at night, talk to the coach for like 15 minutes, and that was pretty much it. Hang up the
Yeah.
phone. And so that's what I mean. That's all I really remember of it. It was so informal compared to now, where kids can tweet their highlight videos at coaches or whatever it was. I remember talking to Obi about this as well. Like he's a little older than I am, but Obi like made VHSs and sent them out to all of his colleges. I remember my mom and I made like 100 DVDs or something like that. And
Yeah,
stuffed them all in
yeah.
envelopes, emailed them out, and then I got to K State and I saw the recruiting film room and the stacks of
Just
DVDs
pushed
just
off to the
these guys
side,
got.
untouched, with
Yeah,
dust all over them.
I was like, God, where's mine at in that whole mess of everything?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's definitely different now because you think about a coach could be sitting on a runway or something like that, checking his emails, and he sees you send like a YouTube video. He can watch that on his phone, anytime, anywhere,
Yeah.
compared to back in the day where it was completely different. So I think the whole recruiting game in terms of like getting your film out, talking to coaches, interacting with coaches. I'm sure there's rules and stuff I'm not read up on, but it's definitely more interactive and more 21st century for sure.
For sure. That's so
Yeah.
funny talking about the DVDs and VHSs.
Yeah.
I have some great stories about those. I remember my brother sending those out. I sent them out too. I think I was like one of the last classes to ever do it. I think YouTube had just started at that point going forward.
Yeah.
And I remember Corey sending a bunch out. My brother's name's Corey as well. And he sent them out, and I remember him getting them back a bunch. Like literally, like just a return package. Like no, thank
Are you serious?
Like Florida State did to him. Oh yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah.
Such a
That's funny.
disconcerting feeling. Yeah, God, it's such an amazing time to think back on. Yeah, it's totally changed, completely changed. Now, how you had a pretty interesting NFL journey as well.
Yeah. So Christian was same age as your brother. A year before, I think it was 06, right? Class of
Yeah,
06.
06, yeah.
Yeah. So Christian, your brother, myself. Your brother didn't redshirt though, did he?
No, he didn't. No.
Yeah. So Christian redshirted.
Yeah, Christian
And
redshirted.
so Christian and I came out.
Yeah,
the same
that's
years.
right. You too, yeah.
Yeah. So we came out the year of the lockout, and so usually like round 6, round 7, you have a pretty good idea where you're going to go as like undrafted free agent, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Well, once that lockout happened, they couldn't sign any undrafted free agents, so it was pretty much like a 3-month waiting period of where am I going to go. And so my lease in Manhattan ended, so I'm back home in Monument living with my parents, working out my high school gym, and just trying to stay in shape and everything like that. So the lockout ended, and I got a call from the Cowboys, and they said we want to sign you. Hop on the next flight down to Dallas. So I ran home, packed my bag, and then the next morning I was on a flight down to Dallas. Went down there, had the conditioning test and everything like that, and so the one thing I struggled with the transition from college to the NFL was in college our holder was at 7, and then the NFL was at 8, and so in college, I was laces out every single time at 7, and so I was grabbing the ball with the laces. And then so in the NFL, obviously the extra yard added like an extra half a rotation, so the holder was catching the ball laces back every single time. And so I was trying to put more rotation on it, take rotation off, whatever it is. And so the only way I could get laces out was just to flip the grip in my hand, laces up.
Mm.
And so the special teams coach, Joe DeCamillis, he's with the Broncos now. He pretty much said your punt snaps are good, your blocking's good. He goes, the only way you'll make this team is if you get laces out, 90% of the time. And their snapper now, LP, I mean, he's been there forever. He's nails. So like I literally had to be perfect that preseason to beat him out. And so the very first preseason game, my special teams coach from college, he is with the Broncos at that point. And so he comes out on the field as I'm warming up, and he comes up to me, and he goes, very first PAT, he goes, I'm running your ass over. And I was like, okay. and so how we had it broken up was we were alternating punts, me and LP were, but he had all the first half field goals and I had the second half field goals, like PAT's field goals. And so second half comes around, so I got the short snaps now, and we scored him like an 80-yard touchdown pass. And so I'm running out to go, get my feet set. It was almost like a swinging gate formation for our huddle. Like I was set, and they're calling the play off to the side. And so my feet are set, and I'm looking across, and I see guys that are like, Terrence Knight in size, just massive human beings. And so I'm like, oh God, this is gonna suck. And so this is like, it took me a while to be able to talk about it because I was so bitter about it for the longest time. But now looking back, I mean, it's what Rubio always has taught. Don't think, just snap the ball. Like his story of him playing at Cal where he was messing with his finger, whatever it was, on the lace, off the lace. Yeah, pretty much the same. Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. So I get down and I grab the ball and I notice my hands are on the laces, And I start thinking to myself, like, hey, man, you got to get laces out. So I start, messing with the ball in
My
my
palms
hand.
are sweating right now because I know exactly what you're talking about. This is
Yeah, and so I'm
bizarre.
messing with the ball in my hand, and I look back, and Holder's looking back at the kicker. I was like, okay, hand signal's coming. I said, I got to go. I got to make this team. So I go with my hand off the lace, and he gives me the hand signal. And one hand decided to go, one hand decided not to go, and so I
Yeah.
rolled the ball back there, and Holder fell on it, whatever it was. And so it was, 4 years of high school, 4 years of college, not a bad snap, and then very first game, preseason game in the NFL, had a bad snap.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, oh man, because my parents came down, and like my brother and sister came down for the game, and I remember my dad, he talked to me after the game. He goes, well, that didn't go very well. I was like, yeah, no kidding, but
Thanks, Dad.
yeah, yeah. So I came off the field, and like all the vets, like, say, hey, don't worry about it, shake it off. Yeah, right thing to say, but impossible to shake it off
Right.
at the moment.
Right.
So like, Joe D didn't talk. The special teams coach didn't talk to me for like a week, and so I knew it was kind of tough time, troubling times ahead. We'll say that.
Yeah.
And so had one more preseason game, and right before the kickoff, the assistant special teams coach came up to me and said, "Hey, LP's taking all the short snaps." I was like, "Okay, that's an obvious sign that they don't trust me to do the short snaps anymore." And then so my girlfriend at the time, wife now, was down in Dallas to watch that game. I think I got one snap that game, was a punt, and then the next morning, like 5:45 in the morning, knock on the door. Guy comes in, says, "Corey, you've been cut. Grab your playbook. Coach wants to see you." So I go to the stadium.
Wow.
Yeah. So I go to the stadium, turn in my playbook, talk to Coach Garrett for like 10 minutes, hop back in the car with two other guys, and as we get in the car, they hand us a folder, and they said, "Here's your flight information. Your flight takes off in an hour and a half. Go back to the hotel, pack your bags, and come back to the lobby. You have like 20 minutes." So I run upstairs, pack my bag, and I was on a flight home from Dallas back to Denver before my wife even woke up. Like, so I was like, she woke up to a text saying, "I've been cut. I'm on my way home." And so like she was still in Dallas, and I was back in
Wow.
Colorado. Yeah, yeah,
That is scandalous.
yeah. I mean, you see it on like Hard Knocks.
That's
And
what I was gonna
everything
say.
like that.
This is They're
Yeah,
describing a Hard Knocks episode right now, but
yeah.
that's how it happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's how it happened. And then after that, I had a couple more workouts, like Patriots, and I had a futures contract with the Falcons for like a preseason,
Yeah.
and then a couple more workouts. But after about 3 years of trying, it was, it was pretty obvious that it wasn't going to happen. Like, you would attend free agent camps, whatever it was, and you would do really well down there, but everyone did just as well. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of hard with the number of guys who are still trying to make it, and the number of guys that were coming out every year to be able to really get a shot. So
Yeah.
at that point, it was time to turn pro in something other than sports, as they say. So
As they say, yeah.
find a real jobs. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And how was that transition for you? Because I think that's a pretty important. I think that's something I like talking to people about most, because at some point everyone's career ends.
Yeah.
And I've seen people. I've played with guys who are athletes all their lives, and they just could not handle it, and they're still to this day are struggling.
Yeah. I mean, it's my parents always push, like, you're going to college, you get a degree, you're not going to play football. Like, that was, even though that you're there to play football, academics come first. So, I was able to get a degree. I graduated early, like a semester early, 3.5 years. All the guys that are listening, summer classes, you have to be there, so you might as well take them and get a degree. So,
Yep.
yeah. But so I was able to graduate with a degree and be able to find a job after.
Mm-hmm.
But like all the things that you learned from, football, they translate so easily to the real world, like job and everything like that. Like, talk about, showing up and doing your job, whatever it is. It's amazing. I talk to my friends all the time about, in an office environment, you can tell who has played a team sport before and who hasn't. Like, the people that are so selfish, and then the people that are like, have the team mentality, like, let's get this done together,
Exactly.
whatever it may be. So, I mean, it translates. I mean, it definitely correlates to the real world. So everything, I mean, definitely don't take it for granted that you're, going there to get a degree or an education, because in the long run, it's going to pay off, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I know how brutal it is to have like to have a snap like that. I wasn't on your level at all. But I've had that feeling. It's not a fun feeling. I think it's important to
No.
talk about.
Yeah, no, I mean, it took me a while to talk about it just because it was like something you worked for, for 8 years of your life, and then all, kind of ended within like, a blink of an eye, pretty much. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it sucked, but it's a good learning lesson, and I think guys can relate to it as well. Because I know Lopez talks about his first snap at, Washington. He sailed one like 30 yards over the punter's head. So it's definitely that someone always, everybody has a bad snap, once in a while. Just don't do it in the NFL in your first game. Yeah.
True,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just the nature of a long snapper that some people
Hmm.
just don't understand. I
Yeah.
love the analogy Rubio uses as far as like comparing it to a quarterback. If a
Hmm.
quarterback completes 7 out of 10 passes, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
If a snapper completes 7 out of 10 snaps, he is
It's terrible.
fired, and
Yeah.
people are looking for him,
Yeah.
and it's that whole idea that if no one knows your name until you mess up, it's just a bizarre.
I really don't think like an average like football fans like can relate to that. I really don't think they can because
No,
it's just like Rubio always says, like people just expect the ball to appear back in the punter's hand or
yeah,
appear in the holder's hand. Like they don't understand like the amount of technique and pressure that actually comes with the with the position and everything. So
yeah,
uh,
especially PAT snaps too. I
yeah.
mean, punts one story, PAT's a totally different game. I think
Hmm.
especially just because you have something like that and it happens,
Hmm. Yeah.
just a different thing.
The margin of error is definitely smaller. It's a much quicker operation and everything, but the guys are only 7 or 8 yards away, so they have a pretty good chance of getting a jump on it. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's amazing too how fans will react to that. And I think
Hmm.
about all the time, like to kickers who miss important field goals and get like death threats after. It's like
Yeah,
just amazing how people just kind of take it for granted. Then when it happens, it's like the sky is
yeah,
falling and they're out for blood. you know?
yeah. Even I saw something on Twitter the other day, like the Ohio State kicker,
Oh
like
yeah,
some fan emailed him, like just like calling him every name in the book, wishing him he would die, whatever it was.
yeah.
And it was just like, are you? I mean, how? I mean, why would you even do that? Like, I just don't
What compels
understand. But
you? Like
yeah,
I got a little Twitter rant about 2 weeks ago. Uh, I'm assuming you're a Broncos fan.
Steelers fan
Oh
actually.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, all right. Never mind. But Emmanuel, or what's his name? Jordan Norwood, the receiver for the
Okay, yeah.
Broncos, was just struggling that game. I think he like fumbled 3 times, something like that. Just had a bad day at the office. Like
Hmm.
everyone does, except because it's
Yeah.
on national TV, and just seeing it on social media how people would like tweet at him thinking
Hmm.
that like they could say these things, and it was just fascinating. So I had to ask one guy, like, what makes you, like, why? Like, what do you think you're going to get out of this? He's like, well, he sucks and needs to get off the team. It's like, that's not a reason to call him all the stuff you're calling him that, man. Like, I
Yeah.
imagine us show with the cameras up, showing up with cameras at your work, knowing you had a bad day and just
Yeah.
letting you hear it. It's just a
It'd
weird
be,
thing.
it'd be yeah. I mean, people are definitely ruthless, and I mean
Yeah.
the people are definitely vulnerable on the social media and everything like that.
Yeah.
Twitter, people can mention them in pretty much anything. They can see everything. So yeah,
It's crazy, man.
it is.
It's really
But
crazy.
so
So,
let me ask you that. Let me ask you this: what are you looking forward to most for this whole web series? Like, what are you most excited about?
man, where do I start? Um, I talk about this a lot, and I truly mean this. I come from a good place when I say this. I never wanted, after I did the Rubio movie, the documentary on Rubio, I was very much tapped out on the whole sports genre content.
Yeah.
I just thought, okay, there's no more good stories. There's no more of this. I'm just like, it's all been covered.
Hmm.
I'm time for me to move on. And they approached me over the summer and they said, "Hey, we're changing up top 12 camp," and I thought that's a brilliant idea. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't know. Would you? I mean, before I finish what do you think about them switching over to this new format?
I mean, I like it a lot. I mean, first, I mean, like when we were going through it, I think the top 12 camp was truly like 12 guys. Like it wasn't a Vin Elite or top 12 or anything like that. It was just
Yeah,
really the
right.
12 guys, which was awesome because it was kind of cream of the crop, very select few guys. But I think the whole interview process that they're bringing in, I think that's something that
Right.
we would never have thought of when
No,
we were going through it.
no.
I wouldn't have not have
I would
known
have
how to
struggled
answer
too as a
questions.
kid.
Yeah,
I would,
I would be
yeah,
terrible at it. But I mean, I think that's great because it's so true that coaches like if they can't hold a conversation with you or interact with you or anything like
yeah,
that, or see what kind of human being you really are, they don't want to. They don't want to spend 4 or 5 years with you. I mean,
yeah.
they'd rather have somebody they enjoy for sure. So I think it's great. I mean, Rubio just coming up with great ideas all the time. Him and
Always
Sarah
push the
both.
envelope.
Yeah, I
Always
mean,
is.
he's always. I mean, I even called him today on my way home from work, and he was asking me what I thought about this this snap or whatever it was, and so I mean he's always reaching out for people's opinions, how he can do things better and everything. So he's definitely always thinking outside the box of how to make things more innovative and better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And this is another one of the things. I remember, I think, so they hit me up and they were just kind of like, hey, we want to do this thing. What do you think? And I thought it was just going to be like a recap video or something, just highlight the weekend. Because
yeah.
let's be honest, let's be really truthful here. The top 12 camp back in the day was kind of like a country club weekend. Am I right? Kind of like, it was kind of really laid back. I mean, yeah, he had some competition.
Yeah.
He did some things that were really like, kept you on your toes. But other than that, you were in LA, you were at the Safari Inn, you were
Belly flop
belly flop
contest.
contest, In and Out, City Walk. It was a great weekend. It was fun. It was a blast.
It was an awesome time.
I
Yeah.
mean, they're gonna still keep some of that, but you're not gonna have the same feeling like it once was. So once they kind of sold me on that, I was like, that's really interesting. The more I sat on it, the more I was like, this is an opportunity to open the door, just completely uncover this. Because to me, I truly believe that special teams, as far as specialists goes, kicking, punting, and snapping, um, it's like the last frontier of football to me. It's
Hmm.
literally the
Yeah.
most unknown thing. We have the most popular sport in America. It's booming. There's
Hmm.
24/7 coverage on it. But yet you walk to the majority of football fans, you ask them what a long snapper is, and they can't tell you. It's a bizarre
No.
thing. Like, how do you not know? So for me, it's like it's just a different world too. And you can, and I know you can say this too. There are some fascinating specialists out there. There are some really
Yeah.
really interesting human beings that are kickers, punters, and long snappers. So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
excited about that. But I don't think what people realize is it's not just going to be the web series. It's going to be stuff like this, like this video podcast, the top 12 conversations. There's going to be a lot of stuff that comes along with it because it's just a matter of fact we're going to be shooting an insane amount of footage when we
Hmm.
go to shoot, and it's just we have so much content. And the point is not to hold on to it and be precious with it. The point is to give everyone the proper exposure. So
Yeah.
not only are you going to have this number one kid who's a stud who you're going to follow from day one and big, January Vegas all the top 12 and see him go on to the top universities. You're going to see a kid who is genuinely working his heart out every day and he may get to a school in a walk-on position, and that's a win. A kid who
Hmm.
never should be, because there's a lot of kids who have discovered long snapping as a ticket to college, and they work
Hmm.
their asses off, and they get there, and it's cool. And we see it in every class. I can tell you, I can name 5 kids from my class who you see them grow within a year. I mean, you have to see it too now that you're an instructor. I mean, these kids who
Yeah.
just put in the work and they genuinely want it. They want to be a
Hmm.
part of a team, and they want to they want to go fulfill their dream. And I can't wait
Yeah.
to cover 200 of that, tell 200 stories. It's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. We're still every night thinking of like how do we cover this many kids, but it's gonna be a fun challenge.
Yeah.
So
I mean, when I heard about it, I was like, this is going to be legit. Because I mean, you have like the what is it, event or like Elite 11, wherever it is for
yeah,
QBs.
right.
You have like all this like stuff for the like all those camps and everything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's going to be something special for sure.
It's cool too that you bring those up because it's going to be similar in structure. It's going to be similar as
Hmm.
far as the kind of same kind of content, but it's not going to be the same feeling. You look at those
Yeah.
quarterback camps. I remember watching a couple of those shows, and it's always about like who's the biggest, baddest, fastest, who's the toughest. Long snapping
Hmm.
and kicking isn't like that. Sure, you get the times where it's like who can really snap a ball, but it's about this. It's about
The 6 inches between your ears can make you or break you like easily. I mean, obviously, the story I just told. I mean, I overthought something, and that was that. I mean,
yeah,
you see kids at every camp though who stress out about every single snap. I
yeah,
mean, like we'll just be warming up and they don't hit the right hip, and they freak out. They look over at their dad, like, what do I do?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's like,
Yeah.
man, you're stressing me out. Like, you calm
Yeah.
down a little bit.
Yeah. And so much can go wrong from that.
Yeah.
So much can go wrong from that. And it's until you can realize, I think the biggest thing that Rubio taught me, because I was such an angry kid growing up and so defensive, that he taught me confidence and how to channel that. And when you learn how to channel that kind of energy in the correct way, it's dangerous. You can be unstoppable. You can go for a long time.
Definitely.
And that's when you start hitting some strides. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch when a kid finally gets the aha moment with that, and they just take off.
Yeah,
So
and
much fun.
it can happen like overnight for some kids too.
Yeah,
like, something just clicks right away. And I remember seeing some kids from like even January to May Vegas where they're different. They're different athletes or different snappers. Like something flips in their minds to where they just like are nails like from there on out. So
yeah. It's such a cool thing. I mean, it took me a couple of years post football, stepping away from football, and all that whole world to really look back and go, wow, this is fascinating, and we need to tell the story, and keep pushing it because it's such a cool thing. Yeah.
It is.
There's one question I had to ask. So your first couple, I now you can correct me if I'm wrong. I know you had a couple of rough years in college as far as overall team record.
Yeah.
I mean, I did too, and it's now this is something I want to talk about as well. It's a weird position to be a long snapper on a terrible football team, because you kind of feel helpless.
Yeah.
Did you ever get that at all? Because I definitely did.
Let me step back to my high school days to how bad we were. I think I averaged 9.5 punch snaps a game my senior year.
Wow.
So I had tons of film to send out. But and then my freshman year.
No
in college,
wonder you're number one.
Yeah, so many reps. And then, so my freshman year we were 5-7. We missed the bowl game by one win, whatever it was. My sophomore year I think it was 5-7 as well. And so being so close to being bowl eligible.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
Some of the losses were really bad. Like
Yeah.
I think we lost to Nebraska my freshman year, like 77-14 or something like that.
I've been there.
Yeah,
There.
So there were some games where it was just like. It was like embarrassing, and so at that point, it is like, you wish you could be doing something to help the team win whatever it is, but in hindsight, you really are. I mean, you're going out there and you're performing on a punt, you're performing on field goals, whatever it is, you're doing your job, and if you weren't doing your job, that 77-14 might be 84-7, whatever it was, because you got a punt block, scoop and score, whatever it was, or whatever it may be, but just doing your job and doing it the best you can, and performing, you really are doing your team a great service, even though you might not think about it, because you think about guys who have a bad snap and get a block, whatever it is. I mean, that's a momentum changer, in drop of a hat. You think about flipping the field or something like that, getting a punt block. I mean, just going out there and doing your job, you really are helping your team a ton.
Right. Wow, you have way more positive outlook than me. I was a little more. That's my whole career in a nutshell. That's so funny. Yeah. Wow. So, kids, listen to Corey, not on this one. Yeah, no, that's true. That's very true. And I, I have specific examples of when I was playing that became true. I think my last 2 games, I had 2 bad snaps. It was against A&M and then Missouri. And it was interesting to see that the momentum change of my last game, the second bad snap I had. It wasn't a terrible bad snap. It was just bad enough to where the punter could handle it, whatnot. Then it causes all that. But it's really crazy to see that momentum change in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
it's just a crazy change.
The momentum and like the mood of the whole team.
The mood of the team, the mood of the fans.
Yeah. And you don't want everyone's shooting daggers at you, and you just don't want to lift your head up. Yeah, and all the cameras are on you right away. Yeah.
What's your favorite? Do you ever because obviously the snapper, you warm up on the sidelines. Did you have any interaction with the fans at all?
Not directly towards me, but our junior year we were playing Louisiana Lafayette down there. and it was like a downpouring rain. There was nobody there, and our kicker missed, I think, 3 field goals and 2 extra points, and we lost by 2 points. And so every single time he missed a kick, he came back to the sideline, and they were just saying his name was Cherry. Josh Cherry was his name. They're like, Cherry, you're our best player, just like hounding him.
Oh
And
no!
it was. I mean, I felt bad for him,
No.
but at the same time, that's still something like we joke about
It's
to
pretty
this
funny.
day.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty funny.
like we're all in a big group text together, like all of our best friends from college, and we always give him a hard time, especially that game. And so
Yeah,
he's a good sport about it. He doesn't let him rattle him
that's
too
good.
much. But
That's good.
yeah,
That's pretty
but
funny. Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of I mean, playing in the Big 12 at least, there's a lot of cool environments that you probably never thought I never thought I would be able to play in.
Right.
Like A&M was one of them when they were still in the Big 12. Like that was
A&M,
unbelievable.
sleeping
Yeah,
giant in the Big 12, and as soon as they hit
yeah,
the SEC, they finally blew up. Yeah, I
hmm
mean, and that's actually my first bad snap I ever had. I sailed that
really,
ball. It was bizarre because obviously my brother played for him 4 years. I
yeah,
honestly that was like when I went to a game at A&M back when I was like in 8th grade, I think it was. I was like, wow, I think I want to play college football. That was like the first domino to fall because it was such
uh,
an amazing atmosphere. And that's
yeah,
all I knew as far as college football for a while. And then my freshman year, I had to go
yeah.
play it, and that was like the first time it hit me. I'm like, whoa, I'm playing college football.
Yeah,
And I
my
sailed that
yeah.
ball.
I mean, my experience being Air Force growing up. I mean, I mean, it was a great environment and everything growing up. Flyovers every single game. It was awesome. But then I think their stadium holds like 30,000 people, whatever it is. And then so going from watching games at Air Force to playing in front of 800 people on a Friday night to 90,000 people in Auburn,
Auburn.
like very first game, it was like that's when it like all really hit, and like you see yourself with like your jersey draping off of you, your Under Armour's not even tight on your body because you're like 200 pounds. It was like, oh wow, like this is a whole like different level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's amazing. Yeah, college
yeah,
football is pretty crazy. And
yeah.
it's a cool experience. I think, and I think one of the coolest things I can take away from college football is just traveling. Traveling was
Mm-hmm.
such a neat thing.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing I miss the most, just going from different venue to venue and just seeing all the
yeah,
different campuses and the different environments.
yeah.
Pretty
And
cool.
everyone always asks like, what's your favorite memory? Expecting you to say like, oh, when we beat Texas, whatever it was, whatever it may be. I honestly can't remember like any of the games, like any of the plays or anything
Yeah.
like that, like specifically. But
Yeah.
I can almost tell you like my favorite memories were us, messing around on the sidelines during practice,
Yeah.
or at study hall watching like YouTube videos or something like that.
Yeah.
We also did study, but just having fun with your
Right.
friends and
Right.
having fun with your friends and everything. Like that's the most like memorable thing, and that's the one thing probably missed the most from college is like you know, it was so like you think it's so stressful at the time, but hindsight, it's like, okay, I get to work out every day and go to class for a few hours and then go play football for 3 more hours. It's like this is like the best thing ever, and I get to do it with my best friends for every single day. So yeah, I mean that's the most memorable part I would think of college football and college in general actually.
So true. That yeah.
Uh,
You hit on the nail. Hit on the head. Hit on the nail. Hit on the something. You definitely hit. You just the idea of you. It's hard to remember games. I remember certain plays, but you're absolutely right. It was the little memories you have in between
mhm.
all that stuff that is
Yeah,
just lasts forever.
yeah,
Yeah, you're so right. Now I'm starting to get flood. You just opened the door. I'm starting to think about all these stories. Uh,
yeah.
so as an instructor now, do you see long snapping differently than you did as a player?
Um, you I would say yes because as I was like as a player, it didn't seem like that complicated. Like, oh, I could snap a .68 if I wanted to right now. I could get down and rip it back there, whatever it is. Now, like as unflexible as I am now and as out of shape as I am now, like if I try to snap a football, it would probably be wobbly and like not even close to the punter and like that. And I mean, you still know the form and the technique and everything like that. You know all the drills. You can help kids out, but like I always tell Rubio when he asks me like run a camp for him, I'm like, please have somebody good there so I don't have to demo because you do not want me demoing for you right now. and so and so luckily, there's good kids everywhere. So like fluid and everything just comes together so nicely throughout the whole snap and everything like that. And as you're
Right.
doing it, it doesn't feel like it's that hard. But now, outside looking in, it's definitely, I have an appreciation, for it for sure.
Yeah. And I bet Rubio as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I saw Rubio. I've never seen Rubio snap a punt snap. I've only seen him snap
Yeah, I haven't either.
PATs.
No, I
Yeah.
think I have. I see him snap a 10-yard, like 12-yard snap.
Oh
Never a full
yeah.
15. Yeah, he'd break his back. Bless his heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, no, um, oh yeah, first memory of Rubio. Like, what's your like first memory? Because I have my first memory of Rubio is so vivid, and so like everyone I pretty much has met Rubio always has their first Rubio story.
Yeah.
He's just a character. Do you remember yours?
I mean, I remember my first time, like my first memory of him was when I went to my first Vegas camp. I had a basketball game the night before, so we left Denver like Saturday morning, like 5 a.m. And so I flew down to Vegas. I had like an hour from the time I landed to the when I was on the field for snapping. And so we went straight from the airport to the field. And as we got there, I remember, again, he was heavier at this point. I remember seeing this heavy bald man in the middle of the field, just, dry humor, funny, funny as can be, whatever it was. And I was like, oh, that must, no, that's Rubio. And like, his voice projects so well, and he just has a way about him. That was my first true memory of, seeing him and everything like that.
Like the aura of him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the presence of
then,
Rubio.
But then there's we could go on for another 3 hours about stories of, different things with, all the different Vegases we've worked, all the regional camps we've worked and everything like that. There's just so many funny stories, and you get all the guys together, like, get you together, Casey, like all the guys from so long,
Yeah.
Casey being I think his first student ever.
Ever.
It's funny because like I think the last Vegas, I told Casey, I said, "There's kids attending this camp that weren't even born yet when you started working with me."
Oh, don't say that. That's weird. That's weird.
And he's like, "Oh my gosh, you're right." And so, I mean, just think about that in terms of length of how long Rubio's been doing this. It's crazy.
Oh, that is so true.
Yeah,
That is weird.
yeah.
That's pretty cool, I guess. In
a way,
kind of scary now.
Yeah,
but that's mind blowing. That's a stat of the day right there for me.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, that's another reason why the web series has come out, to show kids like, we are planning on doing a little piece like the start where we will show the very, very beginnings of what this was with Rubio Long Snapping, Chris Taylor kicking. And I'm pretty excited about that too.
Yeah.
Because people are going to be like, that was the target. Remember the vinyl target?
That was the one I remember. Like when I was still, after I got cut, I was still snapping at home, whatever it was, and the only person that could catch my snaps at home was my dad, because my mom wouldn't catch them. And so I remember like taping up that vinyl target to a mattress in the basement and snapping down the hallway, and I couldn't tell. I mean, I knew where the snap was hitting, based on like where I was releasing and everything, but I still set up like my original iPhone, like just videotape the target. And that was like how I would kind of train as my dad was out of town on business trips, like when I was living at home. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I did the same thing. We had a big sheet of plywood in the backyard. I just flung it up on there and just went for it.
Yeah.
Kids will never understand.
No, they won't. They won't. This generation's spoiled.
Yeah, damn net that catches it.
I know, right?
So futuristic.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you wish you would have experienced as a Rubio long snapper coming up in the ranks through high school that they do now, that you wish you would have had back then?
Oh man, honestly, I'm pretty jealous of the U.S. Army All-American thing.
Yeah,
like if I was a kid coming up and being able to to compete, like that's not given. Like you get to compete for that, like prove that you're willing to do that. I think that's pretty awesome. I think that's one thing I kind of wish I would have had a chance to be able to play in. It wasn't when we were going through. They weren't selecting long snappers for high school all-star games. So it's definitely something very cool that Sailor and Rubio have a connection with the U.S. Army game and everything like that. So that's definitely one thing. That's definitely one thing I'm pretty jealous about. But
The thing I'm happy I don't have to do is the agility stuff at Vegas now.
Oh,
In the
definitely.
40s.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we even did. At least I don't think I ever did the snap the ball, block, and then go catch a pass. I don't think we ever
Oh
did that in
wow!
Vegas.
Like
Yeah,
that. You're that far back, huh?
I'm predating myself a little bit here.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
a little bit
so
there.
yeah.
That's a pretty old school drill. That's
I mean,
happening.
we were at the we were at the UNLV practice fields. You've been there, obviously. Those were
Yeah,
great because we had so much space. But yeah, so it was definitely different 11 years
just
ago.
snapping hundreds of balls. That was it.
Yeah,
Like
it was
cavemen,
it was great. I
like
mean, and
Neanderthals.
yeah, it's funny though. Like the drills that we've done haven't changed. Like they've evolved a little bit, but it's still just like same technique and everything like that.
Yeah,
Kids are just so much better now than we were. So
yeah.
yeah,
And you're seeing a
yeah,
lot more athletes choosing
hmm
to do this,
yeah,
which is fun to watch. You get guys, I can name six off the top of my head right now that were just like, wow, you are just gifted physically, and when you see
hmm
them click form wise, it's kind of a thing of beauty.
yeah. It's also funny though that you see like an athlete who's might be the best athlete on a team, and he tries to get down a long snap of football, and how bad he is. Like, oh, it's so
Yes,
easy,
yes.
and then he can't do it at all. So I mean,
No,
it definitely gives credit to how hard the position is.
yeah.
So
Then you get
yeah,
that one guy who jumps up there and tries it, and he gets really lucky, and then
yeah,
he got the ego just soars, and he's like, "This is
oh
easy,"
yeah,
you know.
yeah, exactly.
But do it 10 times in a
hmm
row in front
Yeah.
of people. Yeah. Hopefully, the web series helps shed light on it. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
that's what I'm curious about.
That was always the best part. Like, specialists go out early, in college to warm up, and everybody coming out of the locker room wants to be a specialist. When they're coming out of the locker room, like they want to kick field goals, they want to snap balls, whatever
Yeah,
it is, because they think it's so easy.
yeah.
So,
They think it's playtime. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Well, I mean, is there anything else you would like to say or talk about? I mean, you're a great mind to pick. I'm sure everyone would love to hear what you have to say.
No, I mean, I was. I mean, I know the first video that you posted with Rubio. I saw it get posted, and I sat. I opened it up and sat down, and the hour flew by like that. I mean,
Yeah.
it was so fun listening to you two talk and everything like that. So, I mean, I was excited when you asked me to do it, and I hope gave at least some good content out there for you to
Oh, you
publish and
definitely did.
get on the series and everything.
Definitely did.
So I'm excited to see all the different ones that you do and see how it all turns out. I know it's going to be great.
We
So
have some really cool ones, really outside the box ones too, which I'm really excited about.
yeah,
We're kind of getting the greatest hits out of the way, so to speak.
nice. Yeah,
But there's gonna be some
yeah,
ones that come out that people will be like, "Whoa, okay." Like
awesome.
this is it's kind of this, especially this conversation series is not just to do Rubio Sailor guys and keep
Hmm.
going. It's very important, and we need to talk with you guys. But it's gonna be people
Yeah.
who are kind of on the bubble of this world, who are
Hmm.
connected to kind of the whole global football scene that
Awesome.
so I'm really excited about that.
I'm excited to see who you have for it. I think I'm curious to see who you have
Dun, dun,
for sure.
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. No, but Corey
Yeah.
Adams, it was a pleasure. It's always a
Hey,
pleasure.
one last thing.
Oh
Though.
yeah, yeah.
K-State, yeah, K-State and KU are tied 86-86 right now. One
Are
game
they
left.
playing right now? Is that who they're
They're
playing
playing.
right now?
You have a KU sweatshirt on, and you don't even know that they're playing.
I
Right
stopped following
now.
basketball a long time ago.
Yeah,
There's a beef when you're a football player, at KU.
our old strength coaches, well, our new strength coaches when I was there, they came from KU. Coach Dawson, did you have Coach Dawson?
I heard so many stories about that guy though. I never met him, but I have stories from guys who were holdovers from Mangino.
He
Yeah.
was. I mean, first 6 months of my of his time at K State, I hated him so
I
much.
heard he was just the worst.
Oh my gosh, dude! And I hated him so much. But then after that, like once you got through like his own initiation, pretty much,
Yeah.
like he was a cool guy. But they came from KU and they were talking about some of the like just the tension between the football and basketball team. And everything
It was
like
bad.
that was there. Yeah.
It was bad. It wasn't it kind of came in spurts when I was there, but beforehand,
Mm-hmm.
it was like got really bad, and
Yeah.
a lot of it has to do with the fan base. Fan base feels that a lot. You'd be in class and people will just start talking crap about the football team, and then yet, you'll have professors writing their whole exam around the current like we'd be in math class and it would be math problems about
Based on basketball.
based on the current basketball team and their statistics. It's kind of
Oh,
that thing. It's a
Jesus.
whole cult thing, yeah. But I
That's
mean,
ridiculous.
it's just kind of how the way it is. I've kind of embraced it now. So I mean,
Yeah.
I follow him though, but not. I've just been so busy. It's just
Yeah.
coincidence. I'm not going to claim that I was like, but it's funny it's K State though.
Yeah, well, dude, no, so right now it's tied 88-88. K-State has the ball with 24 seconds left.
Oh, we have to stick around and finish this out.
Yeah,
Though.
let's
Give
see
me a
what,
live
let's see what
update.
happens.
That's
I
sick.
honestly, I don't. So we just called timeout, but I'm honestly a horrible fan as well because I don't know any of our guys' names. So because I knew the guys that were there when I was there, like
Yeah.
we were cool with them and everything like that. But now I know like one or two guys. So,
Yeah, you had. Were you there when Michael Beasley got picked up?
yeah. So Beasley was the same incoming class as us, coming in. So I had summer classes with him and everything like that. Dude was a clown, but I mean, like you saw him, like he walked around campus, just like moped around and everything like that.
Yeah.
It's like, how's this guy a number one basketball recruit in the nation?
Yeah.
I remember then I remember watching him like play Fort Hays State in an exhibition game, and he put up like 40 points. I was like, what
is this
guy?
guy?
I mean, he was so smooth. Like it was him and Durant were freshmen at the same time.
Oh,
and
that's
they were,
right.
Like, they were going
Yeah.
back and forth for like Big 12 Player of the Year and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, I was there with him, and then Bill Walker as well, who was another big guy,
Yeah.
and then a recruit that we had who like is our all-time leading scorer now, Jacob Poland. He's stayed for 4 years, but he was a really good player for us.
I remember that. Yeah. And you also played with some really cool, a really, really talented football players as well. I mean, you mentioned Jordy. At the time.
Jordy, and then Freeman was a year.
Freeman
So
was
Jordy
there.
was a senior when I was a freshman, and then Josh was a year older than us, and one of my so he lives in Kansas City now. I haven't seen him yet, but like one of my best friends was Josh's roommate, so we all hung out, like played spades together, Halo, Call of Duty, and all that stuff, between practice and everything. But yeah, I mean, there was definitely some good guys there,
and Bill Schneider too. I mean, I can't, as much as I hate to admit it, that dude can coach a football team.
Dude, it's funny that we ended the season 9-4 this year.
I'm shocked, but then again, I'm not shocked.
Put it up. So we shot a 3 and we missed it and went out of bounds. It's KU's ball with 6 seconds left.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
I have a feeling the refs are gonna bail him out, but that's just me being bitter.
Is that just you? Is that just the K-State in you?
It is. There was people going back and forth on Twitter like, how many fouls will we have as a team before the first TV timeout? Like I mean, it's just the whole rivalry,
the dynamic.
Yeah.
Sunflower State, baby. Yeah. Is it true? I read an article, and I don't know if you have any insight into this, that Bill Schneider only eats one meal a day, and it's Taco Bell at like midnight.
Yes, I think that might be on game days mostly, but I know the guy eats one meal a day, and it's usually like 9:00 at night, and then he just operates off of coffee like the rest of the day.
That guy,
I mean, yeah. And what the summers in Kansas are just like brutal, just hot, humid, just miserable.
Yes.
He comes out to training camp in a full sweatsuit and a turtleneck, like just like he's trying to get a message across, like the heat's not bothering me. I'm a 70-year-old man, whatever it is. It shouldn't be bothering you guys. And
I hate that.
Oh gosh, that was the hardest transition back to Kansas from Colorado, moving back here, was the summers, because Colorado summer is beautiful. It's like 50 degrees at night, 80 degrees during the day, whatever it is, no bugs. We come back here and our AC went out like our first week here during the summer, so we had to get a new AC unit. And then it was just like mosquitoes everywhere. Anytime you walk outside, you're just like drenched in sweat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's so funny you mentioned that, because I remember my first summer. Feel free to exclaim when we score, when KU scores, and celebrate with me.
They're inbounding the ball right now. Uh-oh. He traveled. Shoot, you guys scored. As time expired, you guys hit a layup.
See, this is why I don't watch them, because they just win all the time.
Oh, jeez. You sound like My brother went to KU for his masters,
That's right. I
and
remember you saying that.
and he was by far no means a KU fan at all, anything. And he's like texting me right now, blowing me up. I don't even want to read it. So
I love it. I love it.
yeah,
Yeah, you catch the bug when you get there. It's kind of. I will say, it's Allen Fieldhouse is pretty magical.
yeah. I've heard that. I've heard it's an awesome
Yeah,
place.
it's pretty crazy. I will say that, and
Yeah,
it's easy to get caught up in all of it. And I totally understand why everyone. And it's Kansas
yeah.
too. They have nothing else going on out there. I hate to admit that. I'm gonna piss off a lot of people, but I'm sorry. There's nothing going on.
Well, I mean, you're from LA. It's a little bit different. So
A little bit.
yeah.
But no, I was gonna say the summer. My first summer was like record heats in like 100 years in Kansas, and I remember watching. We're in the middle of camp. We're in the camp. No, we're in the middle of summer conditioning, just going through the brutal workouts like stadiums and whatnot. And CNN, we're in the locker room, and CNN reporting like the national heat wave, and they go, "And what's the hottest spot in America right now?" And it's Lawrence, Kansas. And we all looked at each other like, what are we doing with our lives right now? They're trying to kill us right now.
I remember like going out on the turf field and just feel like the heat radiating off like all the
did your
all
cleats
the
ever
turf.
melt?
Cleats never melted, but they had us wear weighted vests during the summer, like summer workouts.
Yes.
And the worst part was if you were the second group because you had the weight plus the sweat of the first group on the vest.
Yeah. Yes.
And so it was an extra like 10 pounds. And yeah. There were some days that I thought I wasn't like not gonna make it out. I'm like, just kick me off the team.
Yeah.
I don't even care anymore. Yeah.
I remember that too. No, I remember one time we had this weird drill. We had a bunch of circuits, and one of them was like we had like the resistance bands or ropes where you tie off to another person and you'd run against them.
Yeah.
And I remember as my partner is running and I'm leaning back, I just blacked out.
Are you serious?
Just blacked out. It was so funny, and just went down and then kind of popped up. I was like, "What's going on?" Like he kind of drove me for a little bit.
Jeez.
It was bad, but yeah, that's Kansas for you. Yeah,
that's awesome.
But I love it. I love that you went to K-State. I went to Kansas because you're such a great guy, and there's hope for K-State now. That's in my mind. You know, I was
well,
like, and there's always that.
You were the only bright spot at KU. You and my brother. I'll say that. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you,
awesome.
Corey. Again, thank you so much. It's great talking to you, man. It's always a pleasure.
You too. I can't wait to catch up in Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas. Vegas is gonna be a lot of fun. I guess we'll both be seeing everyone in Vegas. So take it easy and rock chalk.
All right, man. Go Cats. I'll see you.
See you, Corey.
Later.